Okay, it is my pleasure to introduce you to someone who's a dear friend of mine, a coworker, meteorologist Cassie Nall. This is part of our Meet the Team, and today we introduce you to Cassie Nall. So, Cassie, I've got a list of questions here,
Okay.
and a wild card to end. So,
Okay.
we're going to have fun with this. Take our time. We've enjoyed these segments. So, Cassie, tell us all about you. A 1 minute intro, but if you want to go over because we're weather people, take your time.
Of course. If no one's going to wrap me,
There you go.
we'll keep talking. I guess I'm born and raised in Florida. Grew up near the beach. When I moved to Tennessee, it was the first time I got to experience living in months that had winter. Got cold. And I love it. We'll get to that more in a minute. I am a nerd. From start to finish, every way you can. I love music and band, marching band in particular, my favorite. I love the weather and science, all things earth science related. I can talk about that all day. And I love watching sports. I'm not particularly gifted at playing them myself, but I do enjoy watching them. Football, baseball especially, some of my favorites. And then, of course, my absolute favorite thing to do is to adventure.
Okay.
Go hiking, be outdoors. I just love to be outside, which is probably plays a little bit of a role into my love for the weather, because obviously you want to be outside during nice weather. So I like knowing what's coming.
That is fantastic. You have multiple interests, and multiply talented as well. So
Thank you.
thank you for a little bit of that intro. All right, that's just kind of our appetizer, gets us going, a little appetizer. Thank you, Cass. All right, next question. How did you get into meteorology?
So I would say that, when I was little, my dad had his private pilot's license, so he loved weather. And we always had the Weather Channel on in our house. And my parents told me stories that I didn't understand, that the Weather Channel covered the whole country. I didn't have a concept of that. So I thought when they were saying there's tornadoes and there's a hurricane and there's this, I was like, it's all coming here. And I would go tell everybody all about it. And I guess from being around him, always watching the weather and just also growing up in Florida with tropical systems coming in, obviously those are very impactful when they do. And just summer thunderstorms all the time, feeling the air electrified.
Yes.
Like you feel like the hair standing up on your arms because there's just so much electricity. You just feel the energy that comes with thunderstorms. All of that, I think, through the years was always exciting to me.
Right.
But my parents were always supportive of it, and I always had a really great group of teachers that recognized that interest.
Right.
And so when you look back at all of my papers in elementary school and my science projects, pretty much all of them are earth science related in some form or fashion, whether it's about clouds or volcanoes or tornadoes or tsunamis or whatever. It's related to that. So I think I had some really great support and guidance growing up. I had a rain gauge when I was little. I'm pretty sure my mom would go put some water in it occasionally because I would run out every day to go check my rain gauge, and I would document exactly what the amount of rain was. And I had a chart for the hurricanes, and we had to be home.
Did you really?
At 50 past, because that's when the Weather Channel did their tropical updates.
Yeah, tropical update.
Yes.
That's right.
And I would track exactly where the hurricane was, and I put it on the map, and I did all of that.
Even at an early age.
Yes. I was obsessed with the weather.
You were living out your dream.
But I didn't even recognize it. That's the thing. At that time, I didn't know how much I loved it. And I did well in school in general, but especially science. Favorite topic, whether it be biology or chemistry or earth science, or I didn't love physics. Not particularly great at math, but I made it through the classes.
Yeah.
And I guess when it came time to choose my major and where I was going to go to college, there may have been a boy involved. For why I was interested in Florida State, but also Florida State had a great meteorology program.
Right.
And so when it was time to decide what my major was, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a volcanologist. My mom was like, nope, no, you're not. No, you're not. I'm not going to go study volcanoes. And I was like, seismologist. And she was like, nope, I don't think we need to go study earthquakes. And I was like, meteorologist. And she's like, that's fine. So I went to school for meteorology at Florida State University. They have a great meteorology school there. Mm-hmm. And in particular, they have a really good tropical program for hurricanes and stuff. And I absolutely loved it. So that's how I got into meteorology. How I got into broadcast meteorology is a different story. We'll keep it kind of brief. I, by nature, am actually pretty introverted. I know that seems weird for TV personalities, But we actually had just finished your interview before we're doing my interview
Right,
now.
right.
And I was fine asking you the questions. And now when the tables have turned, I'm like, oh, no.
Yeah.
And so I definitely went to school being like, I don't want to be a weather girl.
Yeah.
I don't want to be someone on TV who talks about the weather and has to do the hair and the makeup and
Right.
the clothes. And that's just not me. Right. I would wear the same thing every day if I possibly could, and no makeup would be fine. And so I went to school and was like, no broadcast.
Yeah.
But one of my teachers picked me out of the class, and he was like, I think you need to come down to the basement and check out our weather show that we do. Monday through Friday, 6 p.m., the 4 FSU weather shows, 30 minutes, no commercials. And it was like a little room with a garage door clicker and filing cabinets holding up the TVs on the side and a green screen and an old pedestal camera that you had to like yank up and down. And I started doing it, and I really loved it. It was an elective class, but I still didn't want to do it for my job. I did come out of school right after the recession in 2008. I came out of school in 2010, and there were no entry-level government jobs. I wanted to work for the National Weather Service. That was my goal.
That was your goal.
I have a degree, a Bachelor of Science in operational meteorology.
Right.
So I'm qualified, and they had, I think, one entry-level position open in Elko, Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact, they have the largest cowboy poetry reading competition, I think, if I remember correctly. And growing up in Florida, I was like, I don't think I can move to Elko, Nevada to take this job. And so
That's
worked.
interesting, though. That was your goal.
My goal was National Weather Service.
National Weather Service.
Yes. But because TV seemed like an open door,
Yeah.
it wasn't. I initially started to kind of pursue that. I ended up working for the Florida Division of Emergency Management.
Okay.
Because I also care a lot about mitigation of hazards, not just telling you about them. I like to help people prepare for them.
Right.
And emergency management does that a lot. But in the end, sending an email when there was a severe thunderstorm warning just didn't do it for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
it just didn't do the same thing as tracking the storms and helping people stay safe. And so I ended up with my first job at a 24/7 cable station in Sarasota, Florida. Very tiny place. I learned how to do literally every job there because it was necessary. Right. And I was there for 4 years, and that got me into TV. You told your story of like, I started in my spot because somebody hired me. That's exactly how I got that job. I applied to everywhere.
Wow.
But the market was so saturated that if you didn't have, it was an entry-level position that required 3 years of experience.
Right.
It's pretty much the way it went.
Right.
And they opened their door for me.
Wow.
Yeah. And actually, more fun fact, I had worked at the competing station in town first as an audio operator.
Okay.
Literally ran the rails.
Yes.
On the big boards. And then when I got hired at the station that I eventually ended up on air, I was hired as a director and weekend meteorologist. So 3 days a week I was punching the shows.
Some of these things I'm learning that I never knew about you. I already knew, folks, Cassie Nall wears many different hats. She does so many things great and very well, multi-talented. You literally were wearing multiple hats, even early on.
Yes.
Before you even got your career started.
Because I had to. Because back then you had to do anything and everything you could do just to get your foot in the door.
Yes.
You had to meet people as best you can that knew somebody else who knew somebody else who knew somebody else who would just let you come in.
Right.
And I'm grateful to Dennis Phillips in Tampa. He's chief meteorologist at ABC Action News. He opened the door for me because my aunt knew somebody who worked there, and he let me come in and like build his weather graphics for him. And I misspelled the word tomorrow. I put 3 M's in it. And you know what? He was okay with it. I still remember it. But he opened the door and helped me make my first reel. And then he knew the chief at ABC 7 in Sarasota, Bob Harrigan.
Yeah.
And Bob was like, sure, you can come in here and move my radar and do whatever.
Right.
Thank you. And so without those people opening doors for me and paying it forward, that's the one thing both of them asked me to do in my future is to pay it forward to people who also are trying to begin their careers.
Wow.
And I try to do that as best I can.
Yeah.
Just because it just takes someone opening a door for you to get you started.
Yeah. Well said. I was thinking that same thing. Sometimes if folks are listening to this, when somebody takes, has that, inkling to, I'm gonna reach out, I'm gonna help this person, I'm gonna give them a chance. You never know. And look at you now.
It just takes someone to give you a chance.
Wow, it takes someone to give you a chance. Well said, Cass. All right, next question.
Sorry.
No, you're
Focus.
good. That was very good. All right, and this helps us get to know you even greater. So why East Tennessee? So we got your background, your schooling, how you got into that. So what brought you here to East Tennessee?
So, a job, honestly.
That's right.
After working 4 years in Sarasota, I was the morning meteorologist. Like I said, kind of wore a bunch of different hats, and I was ready for a change.
Yeah.
And it was either live near my family and try to get a job in Tampa, which is like market 11 or market 13. So in the world of 200 plus TV markets, that's going to be really hard to get into. Or I could go somewhere else. And so Tegna, our parent company, actually, a recruiter reached out to me, and she said, we'd like you to work for our company, and we're going to give you options for different stations. And one of them was in Waco, Texas, I believe. I think she suggested Care in Minneapolis.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, too cold. I can't do that. And then she was like, you know what? There is this news director that I think you would really like in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And I had to look at a map to see where Knoxville was. Because if you're not from around this area, you may not, you know about Nashville, but like Knoxville. Right. And I was like, oh, what the heck? Let's do it. And so I flew up here in January of 2016, and I met Martha Jennings.
Yes.
And she was like, you know, you can wear stockings with a dress when it's cold outside. Because I'm from Florida. I went and bought a pair of boots. Right. And I went and bought a jacket to come up to this interview. And I still had like a dress on with bare legs, and it was freezing. And she was like, you can do that. She interviewed me. I went through the whole interview process. And my attitude coming up here was, I'm not going to take this job. I don't want to live that far from my family.
Really?
But I'll practice my interview skills. And
I
honestly think it helped me because I wasn't nervous, because I didn't feel like I was losing anything.
Right.
I met the morning crew, which can be an intimidating bunch at the time. And I auditioned, and then I got on a plane to go home. Actually, we were driving to the airport, and Martha offered me the job in the car at the departure.
Really?
Yeah, we pulled over.
Really?
And she was like, I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm going to offer you this job. This is how much it's going to be, and please give me a call. And I was like, oh.
And she's pulling up to the airport.
To the departure ramp.
I love it.
And
oh, by the way, before you get out and
I just want to let you know that this interview went really well, and I'd like to offer you this job. So
I bet you were on cloud nine. I mean,
well, I didn't. It was a confusing feeling because I had come up here thinking there's no way I'm moving away from my family.
You weren't really expecting, even if they get to make that transition.
Yeah, I really hadn't thought that far.
Okay.
I honestly never even really worried about being offered a job because I was like,
yeah.
So I was sitting on the plane flying home, and I was like thinking about it, and there were no negatives. Like I was like, I would be crazy not to take this opportunity, and this is the biggest leap of faith that I've ever taken in my life.
Wow.
But moving to a place where you don't know anybody, no friends, no family, other than coming for the interview. I'd never been here before, never even knew where Knoxville was on a map.
Right.
It was the greatest decision I think I've ever made. It was one of those fork in the road moments to me in my life.
Yes.
Because growing up and living in the same community that I had always been in, I was that version of me.
Yeah.
And then moving here, I got to discover a whole new me
yeah.
that was separate from everything I had known prior to that. And it was a challenge. There were lonely moments at first. But like you've talked about with WBIR, the straight from the heart mentality here, everyone just wrapped their arms around me.
Yeah.
Knoxville, a wonderful community to live in. East Tennessee in general, everybody was so accepting and supportive and kind. And that's how I ended up here. And a decade later, here I am.
You're right. I
Still here.
Yeah, I love what you said. Sometimes the thought that came to my mind is in order to grow, sometimes we have to get out of our comfort zone. Yep. And it's true in so many different facets.
But it's scary.
Yeah.
It's scary to do that kind of stuff, but you also have to trust the faith that sometimes you just have to walk through that door.
Right.
Like I said earlier, sometimes people have to open the door for you. Sometimes you also have to make the decision to go through it.
Yes, you do.
And exactly. I'm glad that I chose to walk through that door that was open for me to come up here to East
Tennessee. We are glad too. We have all been the beneficiaries of that. Cassie, thank you so much. All right. So what do you love most about East Tennessee? If you had to say, if there was one or two things, what do you love most about East Tennessee?
Well, I mean, I'm going to copy your answer, the weather. I love the weather here.
Naturally. Right.
Growing up in Florida, you know, our seasons are snowbird season, hurricane season, love bug season, and occasionally cooler than summer season.
Yeah.
Like coming here, there are 4 true seasons. Yep. I love having a little bit of everything in the world of weather up here. We get the severe weather, we get the drought, we get the fires, we get the extremes, but then we also get the beautiful sunny and 75 days.
Yeah.
And it all balances out. One of my favorite parts, though, about being here are the mountains. like growing up near the beach. I love the beach. But in my heart, I'm a mountain girl. Like, I love going to the Smokies and going up on the plateau. And also, one of my favorite things about Knoxville, actually, is you can get to just about anywhere in several hours. You can get up to the Great Lakes. You can go to the Mid-Atlantic and the Northeast. You can go west. You can go to Atlanta. Like, I just love, although our airport is growing and you don't have all the flights you want out of here, you can get to so many places from Knoxville. And I just love that part about it's so centralized.
Centrally located. That's a great point.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, Cass, we're about halfway through. So we've got some more great questions to ask you. All right. So if you had to describe East Tennessee to someone who has never been here.
I mean, it's beautiful. And that summarizes the topography, the weather, the people, the community. I haven't mentioned food yet, but I should have included that in my 1 minute. Let me tell you something about myself. Food is my love language. Like, I want to cook for everyone. I want to bake for everyone, and I can really appreciate good food. And the food here also is really good, and people are proud to share it with you.
Yes.
Like, that's what's so much fun if you go to a local restaurant and you're like, what's your favorite thing on the menu here? People are like, oh my gosh, let me tell you. And it may be something you've never heard of. It may be something you couldn't find in another part of the country, but you should try it.
Yeah.
I can't, unless it's spicy, I can't do spicy.
I love it. Quick side note, I'll share this with folks. They may or may not know. You and I had a personal experience. You remember this? At the Tennessee Valley Fair?
Yes. Cooking burgers.
Cooking burgers. Cassie Nall won. It was a cheeseburger, right?
It was a grilling contest.
Grilling contest. And I think different media people were invited, yourself included. I did not win. Cassie Nall won, and it was delicious.
Well,
do you remember what
I don't
you put
remember.
on that burger?
It was like, I think I called
it a cheeseburger?
I think I called it a perfect storm burger.
Yeah, oh, okay.
I think that's what it was. And if I remember correctly, it had, I mean, I took a lot of steps to make it fancy, but I think it had like smoked Gouda.
Yes, I remember that.
It had bacon.
Yes.
And a fried egg.
I was about to ask you. I think I remember a fried egg.
Yes.
That was such a good time. Oh
it
my
was
gosh,
really good. I took a bite of it later and I was like, oh, this is so good.
But the reason I'm sharing that, because I knew that.
I had a ribbon.
You.
I won ribbons.
You won a ribbon. So I learned real quick, okay, here's another facet and quality attribute about Cassie Nall. She is a great cook.
Thank you.
I understand. And you are passionate.
I do. I love to cook. I now make sourdough. That's my latest venture.
Ooh, and
that takes some patience.
I understood from you and Robin and maybe Brittany.
Yes, that's our thing.
Is that your thing? And I understand how hard it is. Of course, I tried to help Lee one time do it, and I failed miserably. But okay,
it's a whole process.
It's a whole process. Well, Cassie, thank you for that. And yes, people are definitely passionate about their food here in East Tennessee. All right, so tell us about a story you've covered that affected you personally.
I mean, obviously, I think my first thought goes to the negative stories, the powerful storms that have moved through our area. The first weather-related incident that I remember significantly impacting people was the Gatlinburg wildfires.
Oh yeah.
When I came up here, and the stories of people writing their information on their arms so that they could be identified later, or putting stuff in their pockets or something because they thought they were going to die.
Their masks.
And their masks because they were
wearing these little surgical masks. I remember that story.
Yeah, because Tom came shortly after I did, and just being in a position where you honestly believed that this might be the end for you, and talking to people who had that experience, it mattered to me. It touched me personally. Obviously, we were talking to the people because they survived, so that's a good thing. And the mountains are regrowing, and the city is recovering, and positives there. We've covered numerous severe weather events here, major tornadoes. The Cookeville tornado. Today's actually the 6-year anniversary of that tornado, and I was here that night when that supercell tracked across the entire state, went through the city of Nashville, and then impacted Putnam County and killed 19 people. Also, the London, Kentucky tornado. I was here, same thing with a supercell that came all the way across the state.
Right.
And still ended up impacting that community.
You did a great job covering that storm, by the way.
Thank you. That was one of those as a meteorologist, people watch us on TV.
Right.
And they see our passion for what we're doing, because when all the ingredients are coming together, and as a meteorologist, you're like, oh, here it goes, you know?
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
Because when we track severe weather, it's exciting.
Right.
There's a moment, though, where it becomes human when you see the debris ball.
Right.
Or you see the tornado debris signature. And that storm had that, the Sunbright tornado, same thing. And that's when you get a pit in your stomach, because you're like, I'm not just tracking a possible tornado. I now know there's one on the ground, and it is lofting stuff into the air.
Right.
I don't know if that's someone's home at the time, but you're just begging people to please take shelter, and you're just hoping they're listening to you in that moment. So I guess every major weather event affects me personally.
Right.
There's always, especially if somebody doesn't make it,
Right.
there's a moment where you think, like, what could I have done? Could I have done
Right.
anything differently that could have possibly saved their lives?
Right.
And that sticks with you for the next storm,
Yep.
because you know there's always going to be another one.
Exactly.
Anything positive that I guess sticks with me personally from covering weather, just I love to also get to be able to tell people, you don't have to worry about the weather today.
Yeah. Bring them good news.
Bring them the good news.
Yeah.
That's honestly my favorite thing, to be able to be like,
Yeah.
all yours, back to you, Anchor. Life's good on this side with the weather.
Every meteorologist.
Oh, and Hurricane Helene. I guess I should mention Hurricane Helene too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, obviously impacting a lot of us personally.
Well, I tell you, one of the things I'll chime in based on what you said. That is one of the reasons we love you, and we appreciate you and the work you do, because you do take it. You take it very good care, and you personalize it, and you want to do the best job, and you care. We see your heart and your passion to hopefully that people are safe and taken care of. We see that every single day. So
Thank you.
I appreciate that very much about you, Cass. All right, so next question.
Okay.
If journalism, meteorology, if meteorology didn't exist, what would your next career be?
Well, I would be a high school marching band director.
Of course.
Tom's
She's
nodding, 'cause
very good at that, very passionate about that.
If anybody who knows me, I mentioned at the beginning of this that I'm a nerd. I love marching band. When I was in marching band when I was in high school, and it really just was a phenomenal experience for me.
Yeah.
And then I taught for 10 years, not as the director, but just as a visual and music technician
Right.
At my alma mater. And I did that while I was working in Sarasota at that first job, because I was on the morning shift. So I would wake up at 2 a.m. and then leave my house at 3, get to work at 4 because I had an hour commute, get to work at 4, and then I would come home at like 1, get home 1 or 2 p.m., nap, and then I would go to marching band rehearsal.
Would you get a nap in?
I would nap for a couple hours, and then I would go to marching band rehearsal.
And then you go switch hats and teach.
I would teach. And it, as tired as I always was, it was my favorite thing to do. It was worth it every minute of the sleep deprivation to be able to be with. I love high school age kids. Like they're still young enough to be impressionable. They don't know everything. They think they know everything, but they don't. But then they also have still, like, they're open to the possibilities of life.
Yeah.
At that moment, they're impressionable, and I just really enjoyed being around that age group, not only as a teacher but as a mentor.
Yeah.
And it was their dramas, the things that they worried about every day. You're like, you're not going to remember his name. It's fine. You're going to be fine.
You're saying it went beyond music?
It went beyond music. It really was. Actually, moving here to Tennessee, that was one of the harder things to do, was to leave behind those kids. Because at that point, I had been teaching with the program for close to 10 years. I had been through a sibling and then their younger sibling and then maybe a younger sibling. So I knew the whole family at that point. And when I moved here and people would be like, do you have kids? I'd be like, yeah, I have 120 of them back at home. So yeah, I do love marching band. I actually, when I was getting my meteorology degree, I also was working toward a minor in music, hoping to actually let go of meteorology and change to music education. But I didn't get into the College of Music on my first try. So I would have had to finish my meteorology degree and then go back to school for a full music degree. And I was like, no. Meteorology is a wonderful career, and I have a strong passion for it, and I love weather. Yeah. Marching band I can kind of do on the side. Yes. I don't currently, just because my schedule doesn't have time for it, but it's there. Yeah. So that would be my second job. I would teach marching band.
That is
I love those kids.
And it sounds like I've got a few more questions, but it sounds like I'm really enjoying hearing all your life's experiences. that have kind of contributed to what you do now,
Yeah.
where you are now, all your passions, all your talents, and those have helped mold the person you are today. And again, we're the beneficiaries here at East Tennessee of all your knowledge and your personal care and your attention to detail. And when it comes to weather. All right, Cass, so let's see. A couple more. All right, who inspires you to be a better meteorologist?
I'm looking at him
Oh,
every day.
Tom?
I'm looking at Tom.
Go.
No,
Tom does inspire
I'm looking
us
at
all,
you.
doesn't
When actually we talked about this. When I came up for that interview in that January, I was like, I met you. We talked on the phone afterward, and I was like, if nothing, and I think you even said to me, if nothing else, like this is great because we met, like we got to know each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, there are moments where I feel like you were part of the door opening to come up here, and why? Because I was supposed to meet you. Because I said it in your interview too. Like you are all about the values that you bring into this building every day extend beyond just being professional.
Yeah.
And that is such a wonderful example to be around as a coworker, but also as a friend.
Yeah.
We've been through a lot in 10 years, and
Yeah.
as a meteorologist, but also as a person, I feel like you're you say surround yourself with great people. Like you are someone I want to be with and around every single day because you make me better as a person and as a meteorologist.
You're very kind, Cassie. Thank you. Now, I have to say, I remember doing the first phone interview with you. I was in my kitchen at our other house we lived in, and I remember thinking, authentic, genuine, true to her word. You could just tell. These were qualities I could tell right away. So I knew from our perspective here at WBR Channel 10, this would be a great person to bring in. Because genuine, what you see is what you get. And you're looking at somebody who's straight from the heart, as I'm looking at her right now. So I remember from my perspective in our first interview, those were some qualities that I could definitely see that were very apparent about you. So thank you for your comments.
I was laughing when you were saying that because I'm like, I have the worst poker face. Every emotion that I feel goes across my face. Actually, my first boss, Martha, was like at me one time, and I was like, I didn't say anything. She's like, yeah, you said a lot in your face. And I was like, excuse me. She's like, put those lasers
Folks
away.
who watch us, right, they're laughing along with us, too. So everybody can relate to that, right?
It all comes out.
Yeah.
I don't have a good poker face, so yeah, what you see is what you get, the good and the bad.
No, well, hey, that's very good, Cass. All right, so a couple more questions. Two more than a wild card.
Okay.
What's the one place you always take visitors to in East Tennessee? If somebody's coming who's new or visiting, where would you take them?
So that's going to lean toward my passion of hiking,
Yes.
because most people who come to visit me have similar loves when it comes to that. I adore Cades Cove.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It is one of my favorite places. I know
Yeah.
a lot of people feel the same way,
Yeah.
and sometimes you get stuck in traffic, and you got to be smart about avoiding it. Those car-free Wednesdays during the summer are one of my favorite things. My husband and I love to go bike that loop.
Really?
It's hilly. It's a
It
good workout.
really is. Folks that think, oh, it's fairly flat.
Oh, no.
Got some hills.
Oh, it's got some serious hills in there. And if I can stay on the bike for the entire thing, that is a sense of accomplishment for me.
Wow. Yes.
Both because I'm scared to go too fast down the hill, and sometimes going up the hill is hard. But
It's 11 miles.
it's 11 miles.
How about that?
It's beautiful. I love Cades Cove. I think it's a great representation of how beautiful East Tennessee can be with the
Yes.
beautiful rolling fields, but also the mountains surrounding it. So I guess Cades Cove is a place I take
Yes.
anybody, because you can hike or you can ride, all levels.
Yeah, absolutely.
welcome.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've recently found Peaceful Side Social down there in Townsend.
Okay.
I've always loved Townsend. And now that place being open has great food, great atmosphere. And
I think I've heard of it. So, yeah, tell us about that. Is it really?
so it's Peaceful Side
Restaurant?
Social. Well, they have a creamery.
Oh.
So
hey.
I actually don't really drink alcohol. So my husband will get a beer
Okay.
and I will get an ice cream.
Okay.
And we can sit outside and enjoy the weather, and
Awesome.
the food there is really, really good as
really
well.
good.
And like I said, I love the Townsend area. So that's where I like to take people down there, or maybe the Foothills Parkway,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of doing that.
Oh, that's good. That's a good spot.
Yeah.
Good answers.
Yes.
All right, Cassie, time for the last wildcard question. And I really appreciate all that you've shared. You love East Tennessee. You're passionate about weather. You've given us all great reasons about what's great about our area.
And I met my husband here, I'm just saying.
There you go. This is great. So let me ask you this.
Uh-huh.
If you weren't living in East Tennessee, if you had to pick one other spot that really touches your heart that you would love to live, where's one location, I guess I'd say in the U.S., that you would love to live if it wasn't East Tennessee?
Well, I was going to say, I have to go with somewhere I've been,
Okay.
because it's hard to say I'd want to live somewhere if I've never been there before.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could, I should have asked you this question for your question. If I could have a superpower, it would be to teleport. Because I would love to be able to finish up this conversation,
Yes.
finish up work today, and then teleport my way to Colorado and go hike a 14er, and then come on back and sleep in my bed tonight. That would be a dream come true. I do love Colorado.
Yes.
My husband and I lived there for a year, just west of Denver in the Lakewood area. It's kind of near Red Rocks.
Yeah, folks may not know that. So you took a 1 year
I did.
hiatus, so to speak.
Yeah. I call it a gap year.
Yes. And
Because, I mentioned earlier here about how sometimes getting out of your comfort zone and trying something new, taking that leap of faith and moving out there for a year was also just the greatest experience. It was amazing. But then coming home also was a wonderful experience. And I say home as East Tennessee, home sweet home to me. It's grown on me. Yes, I guess I would live in Colorado, but my long-term dream if I won the lottery would be to get to live in a bunch of different places for a year at a time if I wanted to. Tom's nodding too. Because you kind of got to be somewhere for a minute to really fully absorb what it has to offer.
Right.
If you go to Jackson Hole, Wyoming,
Right.
on your way to Yellowstone or Glacier or wherever you're going,
Right.
and you only stop in, you're going to be like, this is a cool town. I've never been to Jackson, by the way. I'm just using his as an example. You're going to be like, this is a cool town. That's neat. But if you live there for a year, you get to go through all the seasons. You get to try all the restaurants. You learn all the local info there is to learn. And that would be such a dream for me, to get to just live in a bunch of different places enough to learn about them and really just really get a sense of that community. And those new experiences.
New experiences.
Asking the locals, what's your favorite place to go get coffee? It would just, that would be kind of a dream for me.
I love it. Real quick, you love hiking.
I do.
You and Jason, you did a 14er?
I did 4 14ers.
You did 4?
Mm-hmm. There are a lot more than that
Yes.
out there.
I know, but you were just there for 1 year.
Yes. And I had to get acclimated.
Of course, in different seasons, some time of the year you can't go. So you got in. A lot of the year you can't go. So you got in 4 of those 14.
I did. Growing up in Florida, summer was my least favorite season.
Yeah.
Living in Colorado, summer became my favorite because that was when you could go do all of the really great hikes because they weren't covered in, well, they still were covered in snow, but it was manageable.
Manageable, right.
There is such a sense of accomplishment to be able to get up to a place like that.
Yeah.
Above, obviously physically you have to be able to do it, but just mentally you have to be strong enough to where when that oxygen starts to kind of go away and you start to get a little loopy.
Right.
Where am I? Kind of a thing. And your steps get really tiny. You just have to keep putting one foot in front of the other and get to the top. Because it's worth it.
Wow.
And then you have to come back down. It's a long way back down too.
You got to come back down. And you did that 4 times.
I did it 4 times.
Awesome.
And I'd like to do more in my lifetime too.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Cassie Nall, we have enjoyed getting to know you better today. Thank you.
Thank you.